Welcome, everyone. My boy made himself known right on time. Welcome, everyone. And thank you for being here on this glorious Friday. It is Friday. It sure is. Now, I was watching this, I came across his video. He does time lapse videos of seeds. So you plant the seed, and every seed does the exact same thing, regardless of the size of seed. Regardless as if you put it in soil or if you put it in a paper towel, all seeds grow the same way. They burrow downward first. That is their trademark. That is their pattern. That is their modus operandi. Every seed, when it shoots its roots out, it burrows itself down into the dirt and anchors itself. Seems cool. Boucher? Aww. Oh, Boucher, I know, me too, but you guys have a playlist, right? There's over 200 and some odd videos in there, and I know, it may not be forever, just for a time, right? But I hear you, I miss those evening ones too. But I digress. You see, the seed grows in a very specific way. It burrows downward. Now, what do you and I possibly have in common with that? You see, when we are learning something, we are like seeds. And what we learn, it has to get deep within us so that it becomes anchored. We anchor ourselves to what we learn. That is why it is rooted in us. Do you understand? So when we learn something and it is rooted within us, then the only other thing to do when something has taken root within you is to do what? What happens to the seed? It begins to break the surface. It comes out. The egg does the same thing. When the life in the egg expands to such an extent, the only other thing for life to do is to emerge. So this is what happens to us, and we are so impatient. Oh yes, we are. We don't give things time to take root within us, right? We just wanted to be able to show up on the outside. No, it has to come to a head, if you will. Okay? Like it's if I could paint you a picture. You know how they say there's an archer and he pulls the arrow all the way back? And once you pull back, the only thing to do is to go forward because you've gone as far as you can go backwards. Well, then, as far back as you go, that's as far forward as you come. Remember, rhythm compensates. So when a thing is full, it empties naturally. So, whatever we learn and we take in, and this is why faith is quite like that. It starts off small, where you have a little bit of faith, and then more and more as you exercise the faith, it grows and it grows and it grows and it grows until such time that the faith that you have propels you forward into something bigger that you've never done before. But you have to fill yourself, right? You have to burrow down. You have to get the, what is it? Psalm 19, verse 21, is it? Oh, God, I don't remember. But it says, Thy word I have hidden in my heart, that I may not sin against thee. That's what it says. Why would that be significant? It is significant because what you learn and anchor yourself to is buried deep within you. It's buried deep within you. And that's where you draw your life from. Whatever you're anchored to is where you're drawing your life from. So this is why, think about it. My mother told me the scripture yesterday. Oh, I gotta sneeze. Pardon me. Mommy said to me yesterday, you'll be like a tree planted by the river. You see those roots? A tree is firmly rooted. It has to be. You can always tell the type of root by the type of plant. Well, rhythm compensates. A baobab tree is not going to have flimsy roots. So its root structure must be extensive, far greater than you can imagine because we can't see it. But it tells you as above, so below, right? So when you're looking above at the tree trunk, at the branches, at the leaves, at the width of the trunk, the girth of the trunk, hello? It will tell you the type of root structure you're dealing with. So this is how rhythm works. It compensates. So if you're looking at the above, it'll tell you what is below. So when you have an experience, it will tell you what you hold to be true on the inside and to the level that you hold it to. You've heard I stand 10 toes down. Well, there's a reason for standing 10 toes down. That means you believe it. And when someone is as adamant as they are with what they believe, it will tell you they didn't just learn it or just adopt it yesterday. They learned that a long time ago, and it is firmly anchored within them. So you see, that seed teaches us. It teaches us what to do. When we learn, you take the time to learn. You take the time to practice. You take the time to understand or comprehend what it is that you're learning so that when you apply it, you are firmly rooted in it. Why? Because if you go out there and you don't know this thing that you're doing, what will happen? Oh, the confidence is shaky. Your faith in yourself is shaky. And if your faith in yourself is shaky, it means you're new at doing it. All you have to do is observe someone and you will know if they're new or not. You will know if they are new in their belief or not, or if they are anchored in it. You just have to observe. And I'm not talking through idle words. You observe. You don't observe words, you hear them. You observe actions. So today, when we're looking at ourselves, remember that what we learn and we anchor ourselves to, the longer you take, right, to learn and to practice and to hold these things to be true, the more firmly rooted you are. And the more firmly rooted you are, there will come a time because something will reach its maximum. We call it a climax. Hmm? Everything comes to a head. Hmm? Now you know what I'm saying to you. There is a build up of what you know that will propel you forward. You reach a climax in your life. When somebody says, I am tired of being sick and tired. You see that right there? That means they've had enough. They are full, and the only thing to do is to erupt, which is what the seed does. It burrows down, and when it has securely anchored itself, then it shoots out through the surface of the soil. Only when you are firmly anchored in something do you express it, is what I'm saying to you. Not because I know anything, but because after I watched those videos and I watched the pattern of seeds and how they grow, I was like, wait a minute. But that's what we are. That's what we do. But what we are in a hurry for is the expression, the eruption. You must take your time. Every vision has its appointed hour. It will ripen, it will flower. If it be long, wait. It is sure. It will not be late. You just have to have a little bit of patience. I just have to have a little bit of patience. We always wanted it, we want it, and now this is not A&W, this is not McDonald's, this is not Burger King. And sometimes they tell you, can you park over there? Your chicken fingers will take about 6 minutes, and heavens, it feels like a half an hour. Hmm? This is what I am trying to convey to you this morning. That as you learn and grow and apply, there will come an instance in your growth where you emerge. Everything does it. Some call it, if you've given birth, you know what labor is. Labor is when the child has reached maximum. It is not the mother who triggers labor, you know. It is the baby. It knows when it is done. And so it releases a hormone that sends the mother into labor. And it says, oh, it's time for me to get out of here. And so what does it do? It works its way out. It bursts forth into the world because it has reached its maximum. And there are rare instances when something is going on that is not supposed to be going on that causes that child to come early. But those instances are few and far between because that is not the way nature works. She goes towards life. And sometimes there are anomalies, cause and effect. They can always be explained. So when you're learning how to do something, be patient because as you are learning, you are anchoring. You are anchoring yourself. Hmm? You are growing your faith. This is why when you spend, listen, let me tell you something. I came home yesterday and I spent at least 15 minutes in that mirror rehearsing an argument. Oh my God. I sure did. And I said, girl, you got to make that argument be worth something. You have to make that argument the implication of something. Let it imply that you are leaving and you will say your piece because you are leaving to fulfill your destiny. You do not just argue because you can. Make it worth your while to have the argument. That's how I had to redirect myself because I was mad. How dare you? But you know, it is what we do. And I spent my time anchored to that scenario. This is what we do. Why? Because things keep happening over and over and over again. Because, well, you know, your girl does love a good argument, right? But if you catch yourself and redirect what the argument implies, then you can change things around. Because this is my go-to. I know I can argue. And it's not because I'm trying to be right, but because I'm trying to make you understand. You should not have two things next to each other that are so similar that you confuse your customer. Put one on the far left and one on the far right and everything else in between. That way, you don't get an irate customer. Right? Yes. Not because I want to argue with you. I'm just telling you how the human mind works. Because we don't necessarily read labels all the time. We look at price tags and we choose according to the price. So if you've got things mixed up, I'm going to go with the price that's right in front of me. And if the wrong thing is there and you want to tell me I'm wrong, I should have read the label, I'm going to tell you, you should check what you do. You have to think like a customer because you are one. But anyway, see what I tell you? I can argue, but I digress. Right? I digress. And we argue, at least I do, because I am firmly anchored in a particular belief that people should comprehend. Because when someone walks in the light of quote unquote understanding or comprehension, When you walk in the light of understanding why you do it, well, then you will choose better. You really will. I'm not asking you, I'm telling you. So I am firmly rooted in that conviction. And I live it over and over again. So when you catch yourself doing something, recognize that you are firmly anchored in that thing. But in order for you to become anchored in something else, you've got to allow it to take root. And how does it take root? You got to do it over and over and over again until it feels natural to you, until it takes on the tones of reality, aka Neville Goddard. That's what he's telling you. So he's saying you persist in doing it over and over again because that is what you're doing. So you see, he told you to persist, but he was so, what's the word? He was so poetic. Yeah? Sometimes poetry can be lost on people, right? And he was so beautifully poetic in what he said. And so was William Blake. If you see the leaves, you've seen the face of God. And where man is not, life is barren. Like, they were so verbose and poetic. But sometimes you've got to say things in a certain way. So when you are persisting in your imaginal activity and holding true to it, you are anchoring yourself to it so that it can become natural to you, and then you will live it out. Right? Persist in the feeling of the wish fulfilled is what that means. So just like a seed, we do the exact same thing. You just got to plant your mind somewhere. Oh, fertile soil. That's what your mind is the equivalent of. Fertile soil. It is always ready to grow something and bring it forth. Always. Because that's its job. As long as you plant it, it'll grow. So you see? You see how beautiful of a thing that is? That all you have to do is plant it and it grows and you can reap it? So then the victory would be this: choose the type of seed you want to become and plant that, because you know only one thing. You know that what you plant, you have to reap. It's the only thing you know. You don't know how, you don't know why, cause and effect correspondence, we know, right? But when you choose the seed to plant, you know that you're going to reap it. That is the end of the story. You just know that that's what's going to happen. But you, as the farmer now, you have to be patient and diligent to plant the seed, nurture this. How does one nurture the seed? Well, in the real world, we apply water. We don't apply sunlight. We just put it in sunlight because the sun shines of its own volition. And then we put a little sprinkle of fertilizer in there, depending on what we've planted. Yes? That's what we do. So how do you do that psychologically? Psychologically, once you plant the seed, you get excited because why? You have to reap it. That's why you're excited. So that is the fire, the sun, the heat. Now, the water to nourish it is the way you speak to yourself about these things, the way you remind yourself, oh, what did I plant? What attitude did I plant? And you remind yourself of the attitude planted. And every now and then you sprinkle in a little bit of fertilizer. I will remember the good things of old. I remember the things I've harvested in the past. A little bit of fertilizer. All of those things in combination will allow your seed to burrow downward into you and anchor itself into the truth that you hold to be what? If I plant it, I have to reap it. That is the truth that you anchor yourself to. Well, ask the farmer. Oh, but Angela, what about the elements? You don't have control over the elements. You can just observe the elements and prepare yourself accordingly. There's nothing you can do. They're elements. That's for another day. But here's the thing. In some cases, I was going to save it for another day, but I'll share it with you now. Depending on the level of your faith, when you plant, and you know that the elements just come and they go, springtime and harvest. We plant accordingly, don't we? You plant garlic after harvest time because it grows in the cold. It likes the cold ground in the winter. So you plant it opposite so you can reap it in the spring. But the way that your faith works is because you practice it, right? What you're anchored to. Now, to do anything with the elements, you're going to need a certain amount of faith to do it with. If you are a beginner, you're not going to be like, well, it's going to rain if I need it to, because you don't believe that that is possible. You have to work your way up to that. How can I be so sure? Because rhythm compensates. Your level of faith directly corresponds to what you hold to be true. So that's why I say we're going to leave it for another day with a deeper explanation. But I trust that it makes sense for you today, that you will choose, like Deuteronomy 28 always tells you, I put before you life and death. Choose life. Yes. Choose life. Which means what? When you choose life, it means, you know what? There is an ebb and there is a flow. Weeping may endure for the night, but joy does come in the morning. Hmm? Do you know that to be true? Do you know it to be true just yet? If you know it is true, then you will act accordingly. You will hold fast to the rhythm, the ebb and the flow. Is what you will hold fast to. It can't be drought forever. Rain has to come, right? It cannot be darkness forever. Daylight has to emerge. You see, we know this. So then you have to apply what you know to your life. Day and night are what we notice. Every single day we notice it. Of course, if you are in Alaska, well, in the winter it is night 24/7. Well, not night, it's dark 24/7. In the summer, it is daylight 24/7. Mm-hmm. Didn't what's his name? It's not Al Pacino. It's the other one that looks like him that played in that movie, but you know who I'm talking about. So when you know what you know and you are anchored in it, you will act according to what you are anchored to. So if you know that, well, I'm going to cry for now, but I'm going to have laughter, laughter will come. That's how you can pull yourself out of any situation. And you pull yourself out of any situation because of how you are anchored in life. That's how you do it. What are you anchored to? You must be anchored to something secure, unwavering. And the earth, well, she is. She's stubborn, the earth. It takes a lot of effort to move the earth. That is why it is ideal to anchor yourself in the earth. Because not only does it take a lot of effort to move the earth, she also does something. She allows you to expand. She expands with you. Because if you plant something in concrete, well, it's dead now. There's no way to go in concrete. Water, well. But the expansion that the earth allows you to do. You see, she may be rigid, but she is pliable. She bends and she moves with you. So don't think that because you are anchored, you are solidified. You're not. You are anchored, but free to move and expand. That's what I'm trying to show you today. The laws may appear to be rigid and unmoving, but that's not the case. They are unchanging, which means correspondence will always be correspondence, polarity will always be polarity, mentalism will always be mentalism. It is unchanging, yet it is flexible. How so? Well, do you not get to choose? You don't have to stay with one thought. You can change it. Flexibility. So that when you come across an undesirable mood, you can say, I don't need to stay in this mood. I am flexible. I can move from one mood to another. Yet you are still anchored, but you can move from one mood to another. You see, this is the beauty of what we have been given. And if we would learn from everything around us, everything around us teaches us what to do. If we would but see it through the eye of understanding, instead of seeing it through the eye of judgment. So today, my friends, what type of seed are you? And what have you anchored yourself to? What have you anchored? What belief have you anchored yourself to? Everybody's out to get you? Oh, nobody likes you? Have you anchored yourself to that? Well, how do you think your life was going to be? Nobody's going to like you because you have anchored yourself to it. And it is feeding you. But if you anchor yourself, and it takes time to anchor one's self, because those roots that come out of the seed, at first they're really just, they're kind of sort of flimsy in a way. But the longer they burrow down, the bigger they get, the stronger they get, because they have to hold you secure. So that when the wind blows, you see, now if you were a reed by the river and the strong wind blows, the reed bows. She does not break. If you are a bamboo, oh, you bend too if the wind blows. So your roots allow you to move in a fashion that will not break you. So this is why it is best to choose the right one. Choose what is beneficial, because that's where we have the power, in the choice. So I trust today, my beautiful friends, that this makes sense to you. I trust that it does. I'm reading the comments. I see you, Surreal. I see you. Yeah, you see, this is what I'm saying to you. Choose wisely what you will anchor yourself to. You see, when we're little, we are anchored in what our parents believe, because we don't yet have discernment. But when I was a child, I spake as a child, I behaved as a child, but when I became a man, I put away childish things. Which means what? It means you've got to examine what you have anchored yourself to in order to make sure that it is still relevant. And if it is not, you have to change it. So you identify, step one, identify what you are presently anchored to. Well, you need to see where you are. This is polarity. Where are you? Where are you going? And there's a whole bunch of steps in between, right? So what are you presently anchored to? And do you like it or do you not like it? Once you answer that question, then we can act. If you like it, then carry on. If you do not like it, then decide what would be better for you to anchor yourself to. And once you've made that choice, what would it look like? What would your life look like if you were anchored to that new thing? How would you behave? How would you speak? How would you walk? Listen, I was walking down the mall yesterday. I had my spring coat on, a pretty little black coat. I had it on, and my bag, my purse slung over my arm, and wearing my glasses, and I had this beautiful orange and red scarf just draped because it was cold outside. I always have a scarf. It was draped over my head, nice and loose, and around my neck. And I'm walking, and this woman is sitting on the bench. And she just locked eyes with me. She's staring at me the whole way, and I'm thinking to myself, either she crazy or I'm fly. I said, well, I must be fly. And let me tell you something. The moment I said I was fly, let me tell you the steps away, steps away. Let me tell you, I walked down that mall like a whole new woman. And eyes were turning. I didn't do anything different. I just felt different. And I felt it to be true. I knew it to be true. I look good. And so that's what I did. That was the attitude I walked through the mall with. And I went to the store, and he helped me with what I needed to get. And he was very pleasant and kind. He just was. And so you see, when you discover what it is that you now want to anchor yourself to, because that was the attitude I anchored myself to as I walked through the mall. You see, we do it on the fly. But you got to be deliberate when you do it. You got to know what you're doing when you do it. Because I had two options. I could, because she was a little old lady, and I thought, you know how it is. But I said, I must look good, and she's probably never seen someone as striking as me before. That's what I told myself. Oh, help me, Jesus. And that's how I walked down the mall. That's exactly how I walked down the mall. And you know your girl don't like being in the mall. I don't like crowds. But I had to go because I needed to pick something up. But when you have discovered what it is that is new that you want to anchor yourself to, you select it. And in your mind's eye, you begin to see it and feel it. And it feels like an attitude. And you begin to walk in that attitude, to speak in that attitude. I'm telling you, I have changed. I said, I'm done letting people walk all over me. And I knew that. I was tired of that foolishness. And so when my supervisor said to me yesterday, no, you didn't do that, I said, excuse you? You want to call me a liar? I said, I know what I did. My memory does not fail me. I know what I did and what you did. And before, I wouldn't have done that. I would have just cowered in the, you know it. I would have cowered in the corner and said, let me just be, because I don't want to be misconstrued as an angry black woman, so I'm gonna just be quiet. And I said, to hell with that. You see, this is what I tell you. When you adopt a new attitude, the more you practice that attitude, because it is in your mind's eye and you can see it. What would it be like if people respected me? Would they'd have to check themselves when they spoke to me? I'm not going to be rude. I'm not going to be insensitive or ignorant, but I will take no crap either. And so that was the attitude I said I was going to be walking with, because I expected them to toe the line. And so I walk with that attitude now. I don't stutter step with it anymore. I walk with it now. I got my gangster lean with it now. Hello, surreal. Right? So this is what I'm telling you. When you see where you presently are and you don't like it, what would be better? What would your life look like if you lived in that fashion? And it will make you feel a particular way. And when you feel that way, then you begin to walk in it mentally. Because as you walk in it mentally, you have to live it out, because it just happens naturally. And the longer you do it, the more anchored you become in it. And the more anchored you become in it, well, then the more natural it becomes. And you just go through the world with that mental attitude. And every so often, you reassess your mental attitudes to make sure that you are holding true to the faith. He says, is this still working for me? Maybe. Let me try a different attitude. Let me try a different approach. And that is how we work these things out in our lives, right? So, my beautiful friends, step one, recognize where you presently are. Is it working? Do you want to remain there? Yeah, it's a simple yes or no. And if you say yes, well, carry on, carry on. Doesn't really matter. Anyway, that's Queen. And if you say no, that is not where I want to be, then choose. Where would you like to be instead? Let's make that question a little bit easier to answer. What would your life look like if you became this new person? And there's one scenario that stands out to you the most that will confirm for you that you are who you say you are now. And that attitude, when you feel it, oh, which is now going to be step three, because once you've selected that attitude and you feel it and you see it in your mind's eye and you say, oh yes, that is exactly who I am. When you see that part, now step three comes into play. Or is it step four? Listen, I've lost count, but you get the point. Now you come to the point where you do what? Mentally rehearse, mentally put on that attitude, mentally put on that attitude, mentally put on the attitude. That is the only place you can do it. And once you have come to the fullness of putting on that attitude, and it is now like the back of your hand and it's second nature to you, what do? The only other thing you can do, live it out. Which means what has taken root in you will now burst forth into the world as your new attitude. So, my beautiful friends, I trust that it was helpful to you this morning and that this has become easier to apply. Because this is why faith comes by hearing. Because the more you hear it and the more you hear it, the more inspired and fired up you get to practice it. That's what I'm telling you. Because you'll hear it all the time. You're like, well, I'm not real sure. But then one day after hearing it maybe 50 million times, you say, wait a minute, I'm fired up. And then you start to test it out for yourself. Faith comes by hearing. And when you hear it, and you hear it, and you hear it, it fires you up. So you're becoming anchored to it. You're rooting yourself in it. And then, there you are. You burst forth into the world as that new person. Ooh, you all got me fired up this morning. Who's in the house with us today? Well, Twitter is as Twitter is. Tumbleweed Twitter. And we have Boucher in the house. And we have Bex Ranner. And we have Goddess Khalif. Hey girl. I see you. I see y'all here in these YouTube streets. Now, who do we have on fan base? We got Queen Mo in the house. Miss McQueen. KZ and the sweet honey we have. And we also have Ursula Darling and Oracle Treehouse, surreal and strategic. So, today, my beautiful friends, I'm reading you. Goddess Khalif says, this was very helpful and inspiring. I'm becoming addicted. Well, I'm a dealer now, am I? Oh, would you like to buy a law? I'm sorry, I'm doing the guy on Sesame Street. Would you like to buy a vowel? He opens up his jacket. Sorry, I got too many memories. What you dealing in, Angela? The principles. Would you like to buy some polarity? Listen, I have me a good time, okay? Because when you do that, see, this is it. This is what it takes. And you begin to feel a relief when you start doing and being what you say you want to be. There is an accompanying relief. And I like that relief because let me tell you something, Linda. When there is relief above in your mind's eye, there is relief below in the bowels. But don't take my word for it. I'm telling you, I ain't asking you. You think constipation is because you ate too much cheese? No, it is mental. If you're clogged up in your mind because you have not done anything to gain clarity, well, then, turbid and clear do not separate appropriately, and we end up with constipation. But you know what? Let's not go there because some may be eating. Anywho, let me get the chime because I'm not going to hold you up. God is killing. She says she's buying it every morning. Hello? I just love you guys. I really do. I just love you. Oh, surreal singing to me here in the chat. Oh, I love you guys. You are amazing to me. You really are. And this is why it hurts to not do night times at this time, the nighttime readings, because your girl's got to work. She was high for the money. That's what I'm doing, right? Because what did I do? Remember yesterday I told you that we don't take time because we're not allotted time? We are not allotted time. We're always pushed to hurry. And so what we end up doing is, instead of anchoring ourselves, but then this is why I told you, what you anchor yourself to, rhythm always compensates. So your level of faith is always going to show. I have faith in the fact that I can always get a job anywhere. I have faith in that because I know it to be true. But there's the other side of me that says, ooh, I might need a little bit more time to grow my business. So I need a little bit more time. And so I've anchored myself to that. I've got to get myself unanchored from that and re-anchored to, wait a minute, imagination creates reality. But then I also have to get myself through this simple thing called time. But you see, this is why every day I tell you, I'm not above you, I'm not beneath you, I'm right in the midst of you. I too am working on my faith. And I had a vision yesterday. I had a vision of, you know what? I did have a vision yesterday, a very stark one. And whew, when I saw it, I was moved. And I said, all right, I will anchor myself to that. And I will wait. I don't know how you're going to do it, but I am anchored to it. But in the meantime, I will do this. So in the meantime, I now work 2 jobs. And every day I get up and I share with you, my faith grows and it grows and it grows and it causes me to become more bold. So that what happens, I will emerge from this. That's the point. That's what I'm trying to tell you. Don't think I got it. I don't have nothing together. I just know the 7 principles and I know how to apply them. And I practice them every single doggone day in and day out, because it is all that is to be done. And in the doing, I am recognizing what I am becoming. So you see, I comprehend. Anyhow, I don't know that you'll get Birdsong because he was already singing at the crack of dawn. He was singing early, but I'll play the chime. And when you hear the chime this morning, make a decision. What are you presently anchored to? What do you want to be anchored to instead? Begin to see it and feel it in your mind's eye and commit yourself to holding true to it. You see, because when I tell you that faith without works is dead, it does not mean you go out there and throw mud at the wall to see what sticks. The work is to imagine what it is. That is the work. Because when you imagine what it is that you want it to become, that is what will open up all the doors and windows for you. The imagining. Hmm? Because if you go out there and throw mud at the wall, you don't have clarity. So you don't even know what you're looking for. There is no clarity. But you see, when you get into the mind's eye, into the imagination, you develop clarity. And what is clear to you in your mind, you will accomplish. So the next time you hear that faith without works is dead, you will understand what it means. The work or action that you take is in direct correspondence to the amount of faith that you hold to be true of what you have imagined in your mind's eye. Hmm? Countdown initiated. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Fan base, you know we always end with you, so hold tight. Just a few quick announcements. Remember, I'm not seeing you in the evenings anymore. Parting is really such sweet sorrow. But remember, the workshop is coming up and it is still 2 for 1. The link is in the bio under the description in the video. And that is a Q&A. It is a live Q&A workshop where whatever question it is you've got, bring it. And we will show you how to use the principles to your specific situation, because every day I give you a generality. But this one is focused towards your specific situation. And remember, tomorrow is the 1st. If you are on Patreon or if you've provided me with your email, you will be getting, because you're a member, you will be getting your monthly upload. Okay? So whichever platform you're on, or if you want it emailed to you, I know Kz's already gotten me her email address. So if there's anybody else you want to give me your email address, slide into my DMs. Or like I said, if you're on Patreon, I'll upload it there specific to your tier that you're on. And that's how we roll. And if you would like to become a member, let me know. And I will add you to the list because it is every month. And part of what you get there is also a guided meditation specific to what that first part is. Okay? So, anywho, that's what's happening there. Is there anything else I need to say to you? No, I told you about the workshop. The workshop is March the 8th at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. It's only 3 hours. It's not bad. Oh, yes. On the 15th of March, the rep from Minel, sound, kymatics, the chime, he'll be coming and he'll have a talk with us because I've asked him to answer a couple of questions. And because I do love their products because they're harmonically tuned. 432, 528, those kinds of frequencies, because sound is such a powerful thing. And sound does an amazing thing to our bodies. We don't see it just yet, but sound does do wonders for the body. And so on the 15th, he'll be chatting with us for just about an hour or shortly, like 45 minutes, I think. And yeah, I don't make money from chimes, just so you're aware. Disclosure. So yeah, you can get them for yourself if you want them. Because I usually have them, and I have them in the yard in the summer and spring when I'm out there, because when the wind blows, oh, it is absolutely amazing. So, anywho, YouTube, Facebook, TikTok, Twitter. I love you, and I'll see you on Monday. All right? I love you. It's symmetric. I see you, girl. Hey, girl. That was Twitter is closed. YouTube, Facebook, TikTok. I love you.